So welcome everybody to part 2 of our coding series for website design. As usual, I will go ahead and pass off the session to Mr. Kevin Dilley.
Hi there, everyone. Thanks, Anita. I first wanted to start actually wondering if anybody had any questions from the previous time. I don't know if Denise, for example, if you were on last week for part 1, if you had done anything on Google Sites, made websites, had any questions, anything like that. I'm here as a resource, and so I just want to see if there was any lingering questions from that.
I never published my site yet because I was waiting for this month. So
Okay.
I'm gonna see what we come up with. I feel like refresher on my refresher.
Okay, that's totally fine. So I was going to go just a little bit more over Google Sites because I think that it is it's really nice because, you know, with websites you have to have permissions to be able to publish and so on. So if you know it's a specific site, you have to have the right permissions to have control of it. But with Google Sites, you can create your websites and publish them really quickly and easily. One other thing I was going to go over today was a little bit about HTML. So a lot of the stuff that's going on right now is there are lots of services, even Google Sites, for example, that make it really simple for users to be able to create a website and to get it up really quickly and easily. Some of them are free, some are pay. But those ones, the editors on them are ones that are kind of WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get, right? So it's very basic things you kind of plug in and move things around, and it's very simple like that. So you're not really dealing at all with the code that's underlying all of it. So not dealing with the HTML or the CSS or the JavaScript, any of that stuff. So I thought one thing that we could do today was talk a little bit, go over a little bit about HTML. So if you or your students are interested in learning some of these languages, there are some resources out there for you to be able to do that. So I was going to share some of those resources as well. But first, let's go back to Google Sites and just look at some of the things that we can do with that. So I'm going to share my screen. And what you want to do is you're going to go to sites.google.com.
Oh, I don't see your screen, Kevin.
Yeah, I just got it up. There we go. All right. All right. So here's my screen. So if you go to sites.google.com, let me just put that in the chat really quickly. Then that will bring you to your Google Sites that you've created. And so you can see I have a few here. This is the one, the New Mexico Mesa one. This is what I was using as my sample last week, or not last week, last month. And I haven't done anything to it since then. So let's just open it up and see what, what we have there. It's just set to open up. A little slow today. There we go. And so in here, again, we can create all sorts of, we can control lots of different parts of it. This is the header part of it. And I have a number of different pages that I've created. So if I go over here to the pages menu over here, then it'll show the different pages that I have in on my website here. And some of these, if you ever wanted to add one, you can just click on this to add a new page, to create a new page. And maybe I'll just call this one, let's just call this HTML or something like that. Actually, yeah, I'll do it, HTML. So I created a new page, and you know what? I want to actually have this be nested under my website design page here. And so what I can do is I can drag it on top of it. So if I drag it in between the pages, it'll let me just rearrange the position of these, and you'll notice that along the top here, I have it, and it changes the order of them up there. But if I want to nest it underneath something, then I can drag it on top of one of those pages and drop it in there. And so now it is nested underneath. So now if I come over to my website design page, it's got another one underneath that. So this is a way that you can add multiple things. So let's say maybe I'm going to create an HTML page. I'm going to create one more that's for, let's say for JavaScript. And I'm going to nest that one also inside my website design page. And so the benefits of nesting are that it can help to organize your website, right? I'm sure you've been to a website before that is really just all over the place and there's too much stuff. So keeping it kind of streamlined and organized, putting things into different kind of categories can help to make so that you have a really easily navigated website, and that's really important for websites. You want to make it as easy on the user as you can. Once you have one of these web pages, you can add different elements to it. So if I go to the insert menu, it gives me the option to add text boxes or images, to embed things. So if you want to embed some videos or other things like that, you can add from a URL of some other website. So you can, instead of having to create all your content, you can have your website be one that can use content from some other websites. So that's one of the great things about the World Wide Web, is that you can link to other things. You can also add stuff from your drive. So if you want to make this something that is dynamic, maybe on your web page, you want to have it so that you will have a folder in your Google Drive that you have documents in that your students can access, or that your parents can access, or somebody else, or even your colleagues. You can add a folder from your Google Drive, and then it'll be up on the website, and so that anybody that comes to the website will see what's in that Drive folder. So let's see, for example, I've got my sample here. This one that I'll choose that as my thing that I want to share. And so I can, oops, let me go back to my, click on this one. And so I'll use that as my one that I'm going to share. And so you can see these are all the different things that would be there. And so that's what I'm going to add to my, oops. Okay. So there are a bunch of different things that we can add to our pages, and it really just depends on what it is that you want your website to be and do, that you can add those things. So one thing that I wanted to do today, and what I'll do is we'll go over some HTML stuff, and then I'll come back to this page and I'll add some stuff here of some of the stuff that we were learning. But one thing that I want to do is go over HTML a little bit. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and that is kind of language of web pages. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to an editor here. So I'm going to drop this in the chat. And so this is W3 Schools, and this is a site that has a lot of kind of tutorials, and there are free courses. There are some paid courses that you can use also. You can access also, but this will help to kind of teach or has resources to show you how to use how to edit web pages. So you can learn HTML, you can learn CSS, you can learn JavaScript here. What we're going to do is we're going to go to HTML basics here, and we'll just learn some simple things about HTML. So if you've ever looked at the the code for a web page, it's going to have the HTML code and other code in there. So this right here, this page here is some examples. And what's nice about this is I'm going to just click on this top one, and you can do that as well, the HTML document. And it's going to bring up an editor here that will allow us to kind of investigate how HTML works and what is the code, how does the code affect the things on the web page. So the first thing that you'll notice in the code here, and let me just orient you here, on the left is where we're going to type in the code. And on the right here is what the website would look like. Okay, so this is the code, and then this is what the website would look like. So the first thing that we have to do with any HTML document is this top header, this thing that says doc type HTML. And that's just telling, letting them know that this is an HTML file. And then the next thing we have is HTML and then the body. And one of the things here that's important about HTML language, and most languages are like this as well, is that it has an opening tag and a closing tag for things. So an opening tag is one that is like here, the bracket HTML and then the other bracket. That's the opening tag. And then the ending tag or the closing tag is one that has a / in it. So right here, there's the bracket / and then the other bracket. And so this is what we'll need for any of our elements in our HTML documents, is that we're going to have an opening tag and then a closing tag for it. Okay. So right here, this first one here, it says my first heading, and it has the heading 1 tag to it. Notice it has the opening tag, and then it has the closing tag afterwards. And then this P1 is a paragraph. It has the P is the opening tag, and then the / P is the closing tag. And you'll notice here that it changes those things. So if we take, if we change our heading tag here, and there are a number of different headings that have specific characteristics to them. So there's heading 1, and you can see here what that does to the text. It makes it larger and bold. We can try a heading 2. If we make any changes, we'll click the run button here to change it, and we'll see that the second heading is a little bit smaller, right? So let me go back to this H1, and we'll add a header 2. So H2, and then I'll say second header, second heading, and then we'll close it. Always remember to close your elements there, and we can see how the first one and the second one. And then this one is the paragraph tag. And so for any of these, and you'll notice here, if I make all these different spaces inside my my code and run it, that does nothing to the code, right? So inside the code, all these extra lines and other things are not affecting what the web page itself looks like. The thing that's controlling how things appear on the website are the tags here on the different elements. And so this paragraph tag is one that will make it so that it will go to just like a paragraph, it'll go to the next line. I can have lots of different text in here. You know, I can just have random things as long as it goes. And if I run it, it's still going to all stay on that one line or in that one paragraph. If I get it longer into my paragraph here, then we'll see, just like a paragraph, right? It'll go down to the next line. And so this paragraph tag allows for text to be able to wrap. So you'll know how when you resize a web page, right? The text will change with that web page. And that's because we're using the paragraph tab on it. If I want to go to the next line, I can just have some more text and put another paragraph around it. So for instance, if this, after this word text, I wanted to make another line there, I could put another tag in here. So I could close this one and then open another one. And you'll notice here that, so I still got my opening and my closing tags and my opening and closing tags. And even though I haven't lined it up on the next line, if I run this, it's going to make a new paragraph there. So it's the tags that are creating the formatting here, not the formatting of the text over on the left here in my code. Okay, so that's kind of some of the basics of that. So what I want you to do is go ahead and play around with this for just a little bit. Go and try some different, try different headings. How many, test out, see how many different headings there are and what they look like and how they're different. So play around with this. You can put some more actual words in there instead of just gibberish like I did. But go ahead and try that for just a little bit. I'll give you a couple minutes just to test that out. And for anybody who just joined, we're looking at some basics of HTML. Okay, so what you're going to do is we're going to go to this web page. Put it in the chat again. So this is, we'll bring you to W3 Schools, which is a place that has some free tutorials and a course on website coding. But this page here will let you get access to an editor in which we can do some simple kind of investigations into how HTML code changes our text. So at this website, just go and click on like the first one here. It'll bring up an editor window. And on the left, we can change things here. And on the right, it will show what the website would look like with that code. So the first thing I want you to do is just kind of play around with the headings and the paragraphs. So we always have an opening tag and a closing tag for any of our text that we can, how we want it to be formatted. So if I wanted to do a second header, I can do H2 and do second heading, and then make sure to close it. And then make sure you click run to be able to do that there. So go and do that, make a couple different paragraphs so you can see what, how that will affect it. Okay. So just a little bit on terminology here. When we're looking at these different things, we have our tags. So this would be the heading, this would be the opening tag. So this first one, the one that doesn't have the forward slash in it, that's the opening tag. The one at the end, the one that has the forward slash is our closing tag. The content is the stuff that we have enclosed within our tag. So in this case, it's just text. That's our content. And then the element, if we're talking about different elements within an HTML page, the element is the whole thing. So that includes the tags, both the opening and closing tags, and the content. So that's an element within our thing. So that's just a little bit of terminology that I'll be using that you might come across with things. And yeah. All right. So now let's look at some other tags and how they might affect our content here. So what we can do is we can use tags within an element to be able to change things. So let's say this is very important. And let's say I want to make this, the word important, bolded. And so to do that, we would add a tag around it. So we're going to add the strong tag. So it's just just strong. And I'll do the closing tag afterwards. And I'll make it with the exclamation point outside of it. So I'll do the closing tag here. we go, and run it, and we'll see there. Now it's made important. Really, it says strong, and so that's what that one does for it. So I'm going to have you investigate some different tags here. So I'm going to just type a few in here that you can see. So let's look at the bold tag. So I want you to try and make something bold. Okay. And again, for each of these, you'll have to have the closing tag on it, which just has that / after it. Let's look at the italics tag. I think it's just an I. Let's look at the, what else is there? Oh, I think important tag. I think it's IMP is the one for that. And go ahead and try those different ones. So add some text to it and try this around different, some different content within your page. Okay, so try the bold, the italics, and the important, and see that they are, see how they affect your text in your website.
What is the IMP again?
I think it, oh, actually, sorry. Never mind, forget that one. It's EMP, it's emphasized. That's what it is. Sorry.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're probably getting an error with it. Emphasize, that's what it is. It's emphasized. EMP. So what are folks noticing with those?
So I have a question, Kevin, about the brackets. Is there a shortcut, or do you always have to just like go to that particular key and type it in?
Yeah, so you would just have to type it in, but so there are different editors which will give you, so if you have, you know, like a, like, I can't remember what the names of some of them, like BB Edit or some other ones that are used for like HTML editing and JavaScript editing and stuff, it'll kind of autofill a lot of these different things, especially if you are have put in the opening tag, that it will then like prompt you to put in the closing tag for it. So, you know, just using a simple text editing software like this, it wouldn't show it very easily. It wouldn't do it super easily, but some of those paid for ones, it makes it a little bit simpler.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is the I and the EMP, when you type something on it, it just come out the same?
Yeah, it does. So that's something you noticed. Did you notice also the bold and the strong? Are those similar?
No, I just tried for the bold. It's the regular one. Let's see. Yeah, it's just regular for the bold.
Yeah. So you'll notice that the emphasized and the italics are the same, the bold and the strong are the same. And I don't know why, actually. There's probably some history to it, but they do essentially the same thing there. Okay, so that's just something to notice on that. Okay. Let's look at adding something else as well. So let's add an image. So if we wanted to add an image to our page, we're going to use the image tag. Okay, so the image tag is an IMG and then a space, and then you want to show what the source is. So CRC equals, and then we'll do a quotation mark, and then you're going to do whatever the location of the image is. So I'm going to go and actually I'm going to find an image here really quickly. So if I go to, I'm going to go to an image search, and I found one here of a lion at Encyclopedia Britannica. I come here and I am going to do a copy of this image. So copy image address. And so now I'll just be able to use this image address. And let me come over here. I'll put the source in there, and then I'll close it with a quotation mark. So that's going to give me what's the image I'm going to use is. And then you have to enter in the alt text. So ALT equals, and then quotation marks. And so the alt text is something that if there's somebody who's using who for accessibility reasons, they're wouldn't be able to see the image, they would be able to hover over the image and it'll have some alternate text to describe what it is. So I'm just going to say lion image. Okay. And then a quotation mark to close that, and a bracket. And so this one you'll notice doesn't have a, there we go. And so there is my, my image there. And you'll notice this one doesn't have a closing tag. So this is called an empty element in that it doesn't have a closing tag, right? Because it's kind of all contained in here of what it is. It's not kind of encompassing some text or something like that. And so that's how we can add an image to our page. So I want you to go ahead and try and do this as well. See if you can add an image to it. Go and find an image somewhere that you can use just to add to your page here.
So Kevin, on the lion image,
Mhm.
the wording itself, is that supposed to show up on there, or is it like people hear it when you click on it, or what does it do?
Yeah, so that would be the alternate text. So it's not showing it here on this, but if you've ever gone to a website and you hover over an image, like
Yes.
you put your cursor over it, and it'll have some text show up where your cursor is over that image. That's what the alternate text is. And so for people that are using accessibility controls on their computer, that it would then speak that alternate text.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good question.
I'm sorry, I had a question too.
Yeah.
If you wanted to put an image, one of your own images, do you,
Yes.
from like your files,
Uh-huh.
how would you put that in there?
So how you would do that, and this isn't going to quite do it here in this simulator here. So the place where you have so like on your computer, you'd have a file folder, right? And in that file folder, you would have your image. And you would also have in that file folder, this file, this HTML document file, okay? So whenever you do that, then instead of having the source be like this, let's say that this image, and we'll just call it the lion.jpg. Let's just say that that is my file, and I have it on my computer in my folder. What I would just have is I would take out all of this stuff, the HTTPS stuff, and maybe I would say if I didn't have anything else in that file, it would just be that. Okay, like that would be the text that I would use to do it. If it's just in the same folder as the file that my HTML file is in, this would just be the text. If I had, usually the people will have like an images folder within that folder. And so you'd have something like images and then line, and that would let you drill down to where the location of that file is in relation to your HTML file that this document is.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. But let me put my text back in there. Okay. All right. So that allows us to create our image in there. Let me make sure. Okay. Now let's say I want to resize this, right? Maybe my file is a certain size, but I want to make this bigger or smaller, right? And so what I can do is I can define. So inside here, inside our tag, I can add other things. So for instance, here, alt equals this, that's something within this tag. But maybe I want to change the height and the width of my file here. Okay. And right now we can see that I can just see here from the file that I collected, it's a 400 by 300 pixel image. Okay. And let's say I just want to make it, half that size. So maybe I'm going to say I want it to be 200 by 150. So I could do that. So I could say, I believe it's W equals, and then we'll do 200, and we'll do height equals 150. That's the syntax of it. Look at my syntax here. Stop sharing for a sec. Oh, sorry, I need to spell it out. That's what it is. All right. So on this, we're going to have to do, here we go. Sorry, it's width equals and height equals. So run that, and we can see it resizes it. And I kept the same ratio, the same aspect ratio, right? It's a 4 by 3, and so I still kept that ratio. But if I change this, I can squish my image. Let's say I make it, 300 by 150. If I run that, then it stretches it out, right? So I can control the width and height specifically. And so I just want to be careful and make sure I keep the same aspect ratio for it. So I'll change this back to 200. But you have control over how that image is for it. Okay. Let's add one more thing. Let's look at how we can add lists of things. So in HTML, you can add lists, and they are either ordered or unordered. And so so the tag for them is that we would have an unordered. Let me write some text here. Let's do a paragraph. Let's say, let's call this the shopping list. Okay, and close it. So I'm going to add a shopping list underneath here. And so I'm now going to create a list of it. And so we're going to use unordered list. So it's UL is the opening tag for it. And then each item within the list. And so this one, let me make the closing tag here. And the items that are in the list are going to be here in between. And so for each item, it's going to have the LI for one of the list things. And so I'm going to say maybe like raw meat. This is my shopping list for this lion. My other one will be maybe some, oops, I need my closing tag for that, sorry. Maybe we would have some zebra. And maybe one more thing. How about some milk? So if I run this, you can see we have our unordered list. So an unordered list meaning it doesn't matter what order they're in, right? It's just a bullet points there for it. Okay. And whenever we're doing our code, it's nice to kind of separate things for your own sanity so that you can read things. So putting spaces in between, like for instance here, doing something like that can help to make it a little bit easier for you to be able to see the code and be able to read a lot easier. If I wanted to make an ordered list, so an ordered list is one that is one that's numbered, right? So you can see just by changing from unordered to ordered, instead of just bullet points, now it's numbered 1 through 3 on here. Okay. So go ahead and create some sort of list, ordered or unordered, so we can see what types of things, or you can see how that code is being used. Are there any questions so far or comments about any of this HTML stuff?
I'm just laughing about your shopping list. I appreciate that there's raw meat, zebra, and milk on it. You're ridiculous.
So, well, thank you. This isn't my shopping list. This is the Lion shopping list. So, you know. So let's add something else here. Something that, you know, web pages have to have our links, right? How do we add a link to a web page with HTML? And so what we're going to do is we're going to do first. What we're going to do is we're going to add an anchor. So an anchor is something that is something that we're going to use to do something with it. So the anchor, so we're going to do A, and I'm going to do some sort of text here. I'm going to say, learn about lions. And then I'll close the anchor. And so right now you can see it just has that text there, right? There's nothing special about it, okay? But the anchor part is important because we're gonna use this anchor to do something with the stuff that's in there. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do what's called an href. And I think that stands for like hyperlink reference or something to that effect, okay? So in the opening tag here, we're going to do a space after A and then do href equals and then quotation marks, okay? And so what this is going to do is whatever we have in the quotation marks is going to be what we're going to link to with this text, okay? Learn about lions. So I'm going to go back over to my Encyclopedia Britannica page here, and I am just going to copy this address, this britannica.com/animal/lion, and let's put that inside my href. There we go. And so now let's go ahead and run that. And so now we've got a hyperlink there for that. And if we hover over it, right, it'll show it in the bottom left what that link is. And you can see that it automatically, that href gives it that formatting that is so common in web pages, right? That you know that it's linked because it has that color, it's underlined and stuff like that. Okay. So go ahead and add a link to yours. And while you're doing that, I'm going to gussy up my page a little bit. I'm going to make this about lions. And
I have a quick question.
go ahead.
On your shopping list, when you
Yeah.
type yours in small letters, right? What I
Mhm.
did in mine is I did it all caps, and then once I run it, it did not show us how I type it, but it's showing me itemized shopping list. Is that what's supposed to be?
So it's I don't quite understand. So you had
I followed
capitalized.
your open and close tag on the shopping
Mhm.
list,
Yeah.
but rather than do mines in low caps, I did mine in capital letters or the shopping
So-
list.
So like here,
Mm-hmm.
the
On the very
OL.
top. The P, the open tag P, and then shopping list, the close tag P.
Yeah. And so
I did it
shopping list was
all-
capitalized.
I did type it all capitalized, and then when I run it, it shows rather than show it the way I type it, it gives me an itemized written words shopping list.
Oh,
I'm
so
just
it's
wondering.
it's italicized here.
Yeah.
Huh. I would have to be able to see the code. Do you have like
A screenshot of it? Yeah.
an eye around it or anything like that?
No,
For
I just
italicized?
followed.
Huh. And it's
mean-
italicized though.
Mhm.
I am not sure about that. Does it have, Anita, is it possible for others to share their screens?
I can make that happen. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure. Would you be able to share your screen, Sheila, and we could just look at the
Yes.
code and see?
Let's see.
You should be able to now.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
See, I
Uh,
followed, and then it came out as itemized.
Oh, I see. So I see right above that you have my friend, and my friend is italicized. So it looks like whatever you, so scroll up a little bit on your code. I think you have something italicized open, but you haven't closed that yet. So scroll up in your code there,
Let's see.
and let's see where you have the open I there that hasn't been closed. Yeah, so where it says my friend, you notice there you have the I in front of it, but you don't have it closed at all. So so not that one, the emphasis, the one above that. Notice where it says
Yeah.
I, and then you have bold
Oh,
afterwards.
This one?
So Yeah, so that's not
Oh, okay.
closed. So you
Mm,
closed
okay.
bold, but you haven't closed the I yet as well.
Okay.
So you'd have to add another one after that one.
This one too?
Yeah, that one, and I think the I as well. So yeah,
Here?
that one right there, you'd have to have one that's the forward slash should be before the I in front of
Mm.
it instead of after.
So
So you'd
I'm
have bracket forward slash I, not bracket I forward slash.
okay.
So
Okay. Thank you.
so you just have to make sure that any tags that you have are closed after you use it. Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome. All right. Any other questions or comments? Let's see. Let's look at a few other things. Let's look at all right. So let's look at a few other tags that you can use on text. And let me share my screen again. All right. So a couple other tags that I want you to just kind of experiment with and see what it does. And let me just put some here to show. Let's look at a couple of things. Let's look at the delete tag. So let's see what that does. So del, oops. And make sure that you close it. So I'm going to make sure that I type that in as well. Let's look at the delete one. Let's look at the small small tag. The markup tag. And the insert tag. Let's look at those ones and see what they do. So again, make sure that you have the opening and then the closing of each of those different ones, okay? And you can have some text in between it. And you can use them anywhere on your thing, on your page. See what those things do. Oh, I forgot to put them in a paragraph so that they go in the next line. So you'll notice mine, I put them there. And actually, I'm going to make them an unordered list so that we'll see what they are like individually. And, you know, I'm sure you can see now why all those websites that you can create your own website, right? They've made them so that it's kind of plug things in, drop things in how you want instead of having to type out the code. It's pretty time consuming. You can imagine those first website designers having to add all this code individually, line by line, how time consuming that is, right? So I think it's good for students to be able to see what it is that that's behind the code, and sometimes just being able to understand what the different things do to it. But being able to type it all out, I'm not sure if it might turn them off to doing some of the website design stuff. It used to be that Google Sites, right now, you can add the different elements and kind of move them around on the page. It used to be that you could then click on a button and be able to edit the JavaScript of it, to change the page, but they took that out recently. I don't know why, as an option of how to interface with creating the web pages. So that's, I think, it's unfortunate, but it used to be that you were able to do that with Google Sites. No longer can you do that. So there we go with a few more different tags on how to change text on it. And so this will give you just a basic idea of how to change different elements within a web page, right? We can see that each of these tags are controlling the formatting of the text, being able to add different elements to it. And so that's what HTML is. So it used to be that it was just HTML for like early web pages. You would use HTML, and that's all there is for creating a web page, right? You would use these different things on it. Nowadays, there's basically three different languages or three different things that you can use to create websites, and sometimes you use all three of them on one website. So there's HTML, there's CSS, and there's JavaScript. And so they kind of each do different tasks within a web page. So HTML kind of lays out kind of the basic format of the web page. That's what this is. CSS is one that can kind of control more of how things, I guess you say, like, appear on the web page. So it lets you kind of streamline different styles and so on. You can change styles and stuff in HTML as well, but CSS allows you to control that more. And then JavaScript is really about how things interact on a website. So if you have things that are, trying to show videos or how elements move around on a page or things like that, that's where JavaScript comes in. So those three different elements, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, kind of work hand in hand to create and do stuff on websites. And each of them has different syntax to them. They're different languages that are being used on a single web page. So that is something to keep in mind, that HTML can let you do a lot of stuff, but really modern web pages use these other languages as well to control the elements on the web page. All right. Any other questions or comments about HTML?
So I have a question, Kevin, about what if it's something repetitive, can you copy and paste some of that? Like, let's say it's going to be,
Oh, yeah.
do you know what I mean? So let's say instead of, you're going to add another section, instead of it being a lion, it's going to be a zebra, but you want the same format. Could you copy that? And then is it the normal, like, right click type, or is there anything like different?
Yeah, you can just copy and paste those types of things.
And then just kind of fill in so you don't have to type everything else again.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where CSS might come into play, actually. So if you had like multiple websites or websites that had things that are essentially the same, you would be able to pull in, you'd be able to create essentially kind of a template for the website, for the format of it, and then create a database with the different things. So like, for instance, you have something about lions and then tigers and elephants and all these things. And so you'd have different, in your database, you'd have all those different information stored there. And so in CSS, you'd have it reference to the database to pull information onto your website to populate the website that way. So each page wouldn't have to be coded individually with all this stuff. You'd have your template set up and you'd pull in information from that database.
Okay, that's good to know. And I'm not as familiar with CSS, so a little bit, I know a little bit of HTML, but it's been a while. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not, I don't know much about CSS as well.
but it's good to know what it does, because
Well,
when I
that's
think in
one of
terms
the
of,
things that it can do.
and I think in terms of, oh my gosh, do people actually have to type all this? It's like, there's got to be an easier way, right?
Yeah.
Than the old way. So
Uh-huh. And, you know, and so if you had, so one thing you could do, for example, and this is a little bit harder now with CSS and JavaScript and all that stuff, but if you have a website that you like the format of it, you can go to the source of that website and pull their code from it, and then edit the stuff that you want from it, and then, you know, use it as yours. That way you're not having to reinvent the wheel for it. You know, like if the way it's laid out is how you like, you can do something like that to
how do you do the source? Can you show us?
Yep. So
Or
let's
a
see. So
site?
so let's go here to Encyclopedia Britannica, for example. And if you go up to, I'm not sure if you can see my tabs here. Can you say that when I pull down the menu at the top?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So if I go down to view and go down to developer and view source. And so what this does is then it'll pull up that web page, just the source of it. And so here is all that page. This is the Encyclopedia Britannica page for Lions. And you can see how it has all this different information on it. And so this is the code for that page. And so, so for instance here, they've got an ordered list here of all these different things, right? So this is for their, looks like for their different pages that they're going to, right? And so
we can see it, but we can't edit it, but can we copy it? Like you highlight it,
Yeah.
or how do you copy it?
you can copy it. Yeah, so if I just select all and
Okay,
Control C, I can copy it and paste it. And actually what you can do here, let's do something here. Let's, so let me close this page and go back to just the Lions page. So one thing you can do, and this is something that might be kind of interesting, for that you could show students, or that you can do yourself. If I go to edit, or sorry, view, and go down to developers, and instead of just view source, let's go to inspect elements. And so what inspect elements will do, it'll bring up a page, or on the page, it'll open up kind of on the side, the code for it, right? So in here, it has each of the different elements. So this is essentially when I open the code, open the source, it had this just to bring it side by side with it. And so what we can do, we can edit it actually. And so if I come over here and I come to this part here, this distribution tab here, and it has, you know, it has an anchor, and it shows the width that it wants to be with the 100. It has the href to this page and distribution. Let's go over this and let's change this. Actually, let's, instead of distribution, I'm going to just change the text here that's in the anchor. I'm just going to call it, I don't know, my page or something like that. And you can look over in the page here, it changes it to my page. And so what I'm doing here, I'm not changing this web page that everybody else in the world can see. I'm just changing it here right now in my browser. And so it's not going to save it and be, you know, uploaded to Encyclopedia Britannica, but I can go around, I can just play around with this and see what is this code referencing on the page, and how can I change the thing. So for instance, if I wanted to change this, oops, I didn't need to click on that. Let's go out of that. But if I come here to this section here, it should highlight it in my, oh, it's not highlighting. Let's go to this one here. I'm trying to see where I can come over to the source here things that I can edit. I can edit anything, but I was just trying to find that image in the thing here. But any of the parts here I could edit and it would show up on the page here. But once I close this and reopen the page, it would reload to the original thing. I'm not overwriting anything that's there. But
That is really cool though, to see, that they can see and just how they can modify it. That is one way of learning.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay. So that's something that you could do as well for seeing the code for pages. And you'll notice that one had a lot more stuff to it. It's not as simple as what we were just doing with HTML. That has a lot of other components to it as well. Yeah. All right. Let's see, anything else? So one other thing, if I just go back to this first page that that I put in the chat that you went to for W3 schools. A lot of these different things that I was just showing you are ones that this page has examples for each of these different elements. So like if I click on this one, it'll open up just a very simple showing you what a paragraph is to it. I close that. We can go to links and it shows here, it gives an example of a link with the A for the anchor and the href for a link. And so there are other elements that I didn't go over, like buttons, right? If you want to add a button, there's a button tag that allows you to create a button like that. And this one, it's not going anywhere, right? So you can create the button that says click me, but if you want it to go somewhere, you can create an href around the click me, or within the button, sorry, actually within the button, you can add an href, href equals, and then add a website and put it in there. Let me just put my Lions website in there. Quotation mark, there we go. And then run. And so now if I click on that, it should take me, I'm gonna have to create an anchor around it. So let me do this. So now the button would be clickable to go through. Okay. There's some of the other attributes that we were talking about. And then let's see, styles. I didn't go over styles at all. But here's some of those text formatting things. So like the different elements, the bold, small, mark, delete, all these different ones that you can use. And so this is a good reference here for be able to see what some of the different tags are that you can use within an HTML page. So that's a good resource to have. But there are also lots, if you just have look up like HTML tags, you can get a long list of all the different tags that are available for HTML to use. So that's kind of what I wanted to show you, kind of some basics about HTML and a couple of resources that you could use. I find that this editor here is really nice because you can type the stuff in here, run it, and see how it's affecting immediately the page and what it does. I'm curious, just for my own edification here, and maybe to help you guys, does anybody do any stuff with web page design? And if so, what do you use? Or stuff that you want to do with web page design for your students that I could help with?
think right now we're all, well, at least in our school, we're a Google school, so everything's about using the Google templates. But I know that the kids really do need to know at least the basics of coding because of all the other competitions that they can join, especially like BEST or VEX or any of those robotics where they have to, well, they need to learn how to code. But I think when I taught Mesa, I used to put them on Code Academy, I believe. And it has videos where they can follow. So you follow that and then it's like they show you and then you do it. And then it checks it for you to see if you did it right. And that's kind of how I learned a little bit as well. I really like the Code Academy one.
Yeah, those ones are really nice where it gives you a quick little video showing what to do and then has you try it out, right? Yeah, that's great. Does anybody else do anything with web design stuff?
I don't anymore. When I was at my previous school up in Colorado, we had a FIRST robotics program, and FIRST robotics required a web page, and it required C++ coding for the robots. I mean, these robots were as big as the kids. So it was a great program. But since I've come to New Mexico, no, there's very little. We're a Canvas school and we're also a Microsoft Office school. So those are primarily our tools that we use.
Okay. Yeah.
And Kevin, just FYI also, we're starting, actually, all of our elementary students and middle school students are now offering coding, like code. We start the kids with code.org or Code Combat or any of those, just to start getting them into like learning or as a club. Yeah, I agree with Andy with the FIRST robotics stuff. Yeah, the kids do need that. And I know that the BEST robotics kids, if they make their website from scratch, they get more points than if they used Weebly or something else. So that's how it makes sense. You get kids that get into it. That's great. But I think that every kid should know at least the basics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, most of the website development stuff, with Google Sites and other sites that you create your own, it's less of actually doing the code to modify things. It's more of, dragging elements around and putting things in that way. So it's kind of more like like with Microsoft Word, how you format stuff by just clicking a button to make it bold or clicking a button to make it italics. It's a lot of that now instead of actually putting the tags in for it.
I'll tell you in Canvas, I get very frustrated with it, and I do have to go in and play with the code because we'll do some weird formatting stuff, and it's just not as robust as I used to use Blackboard. Blackboard was much more robust. And we also used Moodle, and Moodle seemed to be a little bit more user-friendly, although it required a lot more knowledge. But it's just how all these programs are now.
Yeah.
If you want to make them look great, you have to go in and clean them up.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely, a benefit to the code because you can minutely change things exactly how you want for it. And, to that end, which is one reason I was really sad that Google Sites took out the feature to be able to go into the code and change the JavaScript of it. So that's too bad they don't do that now. But like I showed you, it might be nice to have students just go to that inspect elements page to be able to look at what the code is of what they just created if they were creating a site. And so that inspect elements is on any browser that you'd be able to do that. So I'm using Chrome right now, but in Safari or Firefox or any of those others, you'd be able to see what the code is on the web page, and you can change things. And you'll see it change on the page, but it's not saving it to the page. You're just making those changes there of what you're looking at. And so if they did want to save those changes to be able to look at the page later, you can always save a copy of that page to your desktop So, if you go up to the file menu in your web browser and say save the page, it'll save the page to the desktop, and that's one that you could edit and play around with and change things and save that page that you would just be able to open on your computer. So that's kind of what I had to share with you guys today. It's not quite 5 o'clock, but if there aren't any other questions, that might be where I leave you guys with it today. Any other questions or comments?